It's round 9 of the Betfred Super League. Welcome to the best online preview show. Tonight, the York Knights take on Toulouse Olympique for the first time since last year's Championship Grand Final. Who will be bottom of the table when the minutes are over this evening? Whilst over at the Leigh Sports Village, the Huddersfield Giants travel to the Leigh Leopards with a 5-game losing streak on the bus with them. For one team, this will be a step in the right direction. Then, on Friday, we have a triple header. Starting at Headingley, two of the Form 7s collide as Jake Connor and Lewis Dodd go head-to-head. The Rhinos are looking the real deal, but what version of the Dragons will we witness this week? Then up the road, at the One Ball Stadium, Castleford Tigers welcome Hull FC. The Tigers will want to back up their exceptional win against the Wigan Warriors, while Simon Griggs will be demanding that FC come with the same intensity as last week. What a game this could be. Speaking of games, there are not many bigger than Warrington Wolves against the Wigan Warriors. Liam Byrne will take on his old club and will be looking to lay the platform for the Wire to get back to winning ways. As for the Wigan, they will be doing everything they can to avoid 4 successive defeats in Super League. When Saturday comes, save a prayer for the injury-ravaged Bradford Bulls as the champions Hull KR arrive at Odsal. Something tells us some Hail Marys and our fathers may be required. And then finally, the best of British coaching pit their wits against each other as Rowley and Powell go head-to-head. It's a game that is sure to be expansive and entertaining. Expect flair and tries galore as Saints take on Trinity. In-depth analysis, passionate debate and round 9 predictions. It's time for the Captain's Run. It is indeed time for the Captain's Run, and don't adjust your sets. It isn't Carla, it's our Stef. How are you, mate? You okay?
Thank you, yes, all good.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, mate. Good to have you back. Round number 9 on the horizon. Let's remind ourselves of what the Betfred Super League looks like after 8 rounds. And there they are, top of the table. The Leeds Rhinos in impeccable form, it has to be said, in 2026. They're setting the pace at this moment in time. And, of course, Wakefield and Saints, who go head-to-head this weekend, also on 12 points. Then it's the Wire and Wigan also going head-to-head this week. It's quite interesting, isn't it, the way it is? The top 6 collide this week in Super League, which is very interesting. And then, of course, Hull KR, we'd expect them to be in the top 6 by the end of round number 9. Of course, they go to the Bradford Bulls. Then it is, of course, the Bulls behind them, FC Leigh, Castleford, Huddersfield, York and Toulouse also going head-to-head. We'll be unpacking all of those today and giving you our predictions for what they're worth, as we always do. But it's interesting stuff because you look at that table there. Is it fair to say that you wouldn't have probably expected maybe Catalans to be in there this early in the season? Would that be fair, would you say, in terms of top 6?
Oh yeah, given the disruption that they've had there, especially with losing Joel Tompkins as well. But it just goes to show, I mean, every club now has lost at least 2 games, which is, considering we're only at round 9, is it? I think.
Yeah, 9 this week, yeah.
Yeah. So in 8 rounds, I think that's pretty unprecedented that we've got at least 2 losses for every club. And it just goes to show how tight it is. I think it's going to be the tightest season ever this year.
It's going to be very entertaining come the back end. Before the ball was kicked this year, the likes of the Leopards and KR would have been expecting a 9-round team to be, 8 rounds in is at the minute, it to be in that top 6. There's no doubt, with the likes of perhaps Wakey, Warrington on the fringes, really, based on last year. So, like I say, it's a very interesting one. But the mad thing is, isn't it? You look at Leeds sitting there on 12 points at the top, and then it starts at 6 points from Castleford up. This stage of the season, 6 points is nothing, is it? And then you look at where Catalan are, 4 points between 11th and 6th. It's incredible, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think there's only 6 points between 11th and 1st.
Yeah.
So, it's not insurmountable for any team to get in the playoffs or even to get to that top spot. And like you said, this week we've got the top teams all playing each other, which is, so you guarantee 3 of those aren't going to go any further than they are now.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I know, like we talked earlier on today, Dave, you've got clubs like Wakefield they've not beaten a side that's in the top 7 this year.
Well,
They've
they've
had
got an
all,
opportunity. Like, let's go
they've got
straight there. Let's go straight there because we always do it in reverse order anyway. So you've segued really well into that. The best of British is the way I've described this one going into this week's captain's run. Paul Rowley, Darryl Powell, two brilliant British coaches going head to head. And you're right, Steph. You know they haven't managed to beat top opposition, and that's exactly what Wakefield are going to have to do this weekend, aren't they, to keep the charge going forward.
Yeah, just a caveat, that's in the league, not including the cup, because they've obviously played Wigan and Leeds in the cup and played well in both of those games. And looking not to beat Wigan earlier on in the season, that Challenge Cup game. But that's not a derogatory thing on Wakefield. It's just a factual point that, yes, they're an exceptional team at the moment. They're playing really, really well. But in terms of this game, going to St Helens and Saints, given their injury crisis, are doing remarkably well themselves at the moment. I think this is the first real, apart from the Warrington game, which they lost, this is the next biggest test for them in the league. And it's going to be fascinating to see whether they can replicate their stunning form so far against a side that's playing really good rugby as well themselves.
Couldn't agree with you more, mate. Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, obviously the teams aren't out. We actually, for those, we're actually recording this on Wednesday, not Thursday. Work commitments, etc. So we haven't got the squads yet for the Saturday game. We normally would do, but we would expect these two to be on the field. And I think this is a cracking little tussle. These are the two prop forwards that were in our team of the week for round number 8. Alex Walmsley, back to his best, and Caleb Hamlin-Ulle of Wakefield Trinity. And for the purposes of the podcast, I'll go through the graphic. Walmsley's only played 4 games this season to Caleb's 8, but tackles, 250 tackles in 8 games from Caleb, 49 from Marker, and 95% efficiency. Alex Walmsley, 76 tackles, 13 from Marker, and 93%. Both of them doing exceptional work in defence. From a tackle bust perspective, I mean, it just goes to show how important Walmsley is. 15 tackle busts in 4 games to 16 for Caleb in 8. The carries, very, very similar when you actually pro-rata it. Caleb's done 113 carries for 876 metres. Walmsley 65 carries for 424. I mean, this for me, Steph, is going to be a right ding dong down the middle, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And Walmsley is a massive part of St Helens, not only from what he does on the field, but also his leadership as well. So he's huge for Saints, and he's been in great form both last season and carried that on into this season. It's great to see someone at the end of their career still performing at the very highest. He's right up there with the best, if not the best prop in the country still, which is great for St Helens. And Hamlin-Ulle has been brilliant for Wakefield. He's a really big factor, along with Fertilli coming on off the bench, getting Wakefield on the go forward to enable players like Truman and Sinfield and Lino to be creative. So it's definitely a good one to highlight this in terms of the matchup, because I feel whoever can get on top down the middle will enable play in the backs to unfold. So it's going to be intriguing to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it's an absolute belter. It really is. And I think, this is just going to be toe-to-toe. As I said there, I think there's going to be tremors. I think the other interesting, look, what's going to be interesting is who's he playing at 7, Darryl Powell. I mean, again, Jack Sinfield, credit to him. I think he's having an incredible season. He's certainly, a lot of us had doubts over him at Leeds. We all said he had to get out of Leeds. And now he's at Wakefield. He really seems to be kicking into gear. Going up against Jackson Hastings, who I think it can't be underestimated how important Hastings has been, even with all the injuries that Saints have had. Hastings at the minute, he has been so good for him in terms of the opening 8 rounds in Super League. 11 assists already in Super League, of course, kicking 20 out of 28 goals. His all-round play, very good. Sinfield's kicking's been a bit off on the tee, and of course, who can forget the weekend where he was having problems finding touch with a couple of slices as well. But I think Jack's really starting to, he's growing on me, I have to say. But he's going to, if he prefers Jack Sinfield to Lino again this week, I think Sinfield for me has got to shine for Trinity, because we know that Hastings is in great form and will probably marshal his team very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big advantage Sinfield's had is having Truman playing well, because it's took a bit of pressure off him and enabled him to be a bit more creative as well. Like you, Dave, I felt he had to get out of Leeds to get his opportunity. Did I think he'd be as good as he is? Probably not. I think he's playing better than I thought he would. I think that's a lot to do with how Wakefield play the game as well. Kind of fits his style. But no doubt he's had a great season so far. Of course, he's going to make mistakes. He's still a young lad, and he's still only just getting his real opportunity of a run of games. Yeah, he played a few games for Leeds, but not consistently. And I think having that consistency at Wakefield will only benefit him further. But he's definitely a key player. And it's good that he's got that pressure of Lino as well. He knows he has to perform, otherwise he's going to be dropped. So that's going to help him as well in terms of pushing his game forward.
Would you say Sinfield at the moment is edging Lino in your eyes for a starting spot?
I think in some games he has, but again, it comes back to my point about who they're playing.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether he played did he play in the game against Warrington, against you, when you beat them?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need to see a bit more game time from him to see whether he is. It's okay doing it against teams like Bradford when they're ravaged with injuries. It's whether he can do it against a really good side like a KR or a Wigan. And consistently, but the signs there that he can. Like I said, I've been probably a bit of a doubter when he went there in terms of that signing, and he's definitely, I wouldn't say proved me wrong, but he's definitely heading in the right direction there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that wholeheartedly. Harry Robertson, my mate, Harry Robertson has scored in the last 3 games that these two sides have met. That's an interesting one for you. Last season, of course, it was St Helens went to Wakefield. That was in round 3. They won 26-6. Then in round 7, again 26-14 to Saints, and 34-4 to Saints in round 21. 3 from 3 last year against Wakey. So Wakefield will certainly want to try and get a win. The last time that they won, I think, was round 26 of the 2022 season. So we're going back a fair way, it has to be said, for this one. Right, let's get to it, mate. Where do you see it going and by how many?
I think it's going to be a really good game, this one. We're probably right up there with game of the weekend, maybe Wigan Warrington as well. Toulouse and York as well, actually, could be for different reasons. That could be an absolute cracker as well. I think home advantage is key in this one. Saints, I think with their fans as well, they sense confidence in the team, and when they're supporting them and going with them, that's a real plus for St Helens. I think it's going to be really. I wouldn't be surprised if Wakefield won by any means. I'm going to go for a close Saints win. I'm going to go by 4 points.
I've gone Wakey by 8. And I've gone Wakey by 8. And I just think Wakey at the moment, I don't know, I could be wrong. I mean, look, I've been backing against Saints all year because I'm waiting for it to just happen, and it's just not been happening. Maybe it's this weekend, maybe it's not. And like you say, I wouldn't be surprised if yours come in. But I do think I see it within 10 either way. I think it'll be a tight one.
Yeah, it's which team turns up on the day, and both teams are capable of beating each other. So like I said, everything I've said there, I'm not by any means saying Wakefield are a poor side. Far from it. They're one of the best in Super League at the moment. But they're under pressure, and Saints is a tough place to go and play when they're playing well as well. And I just think, I don't know whether overconfidence may come into it with Wakefield at the moment. Maybe a bit of a reality check for them. But it's going to be close. It's going to be a very close game. Can't see it being a blowout score, and either team could win it. But I'm going to go with Saints.
Well, this one should be an easier one for you to have a word on. I've put there, Lord have mercy. I mean, it should be being played on a Sunday. That's for me. And I'm not making light of this. And any Bradford fan that's listening or watching, look, the bottom line is, we haven't got your squads yet, but we know, this week, Easton Masters gone for the season. Tragic. Mella out. I mean, how big has Joe Mellor been? He's definitely not playing as well. So massive Wonga Blake not there. The injuries now at Bradford have really, really kicked in, and they're in they're in a bit of dire straits. There's no doubt about that. And coming up against them is a team that is, of course, the champions. And of course, since we've got to say this, since they've come back from Vegas, yes, they had that blip against Catalan. But they put 32 on Huddersfield, they put 52 on Saints, 24 on LFC, and of course last week 46-0 away in Toulouse, and that is a very impressive result, isn't it? The one at Toulouse, Stef, because that's not easy.
No, it's not, and I don't think anybody's surprised. I think everyone was surprised with Hulk's early form. I don't think anybody's surprised with the form they're showing at the moment, and the league position's obviously fictitious, isn't it? The way they've been playing recently, they've been unplayable against some teams. Like I said, Bradford, loads of injuries to key players. I think that Mellor one's massive, more than any. He's been such a talisman for them. So it's going to be definitely a tough day at the office. I mean, stranger things have happened. We've seen some right strange results this year already, haven't we? Could get a red card in the first minute. You just don't know. But everything points here to a convincing KR victory, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't really want to labour the point for the interest of time. I think there's other games that probably deserve more debate. And again, I'm not being disparaging when I say that. It's just the way that it is. I think, unfortunately, Bradford have been really hit hard now with injuries, and they're coming up against an almost fully fit KR that are scoring tries for absolute fun. And that is the reality, isn't it? I'm going KR by 48.
Yeah, I was not quite there. I was at KR 42.
Yeah, I do see a 4. I mean, if they can go to Toulouse, and let's be fair, Toulouse not as injury ravaged as Bradford, and do that to Toulouse, then if they carry the ball rolling, it's hard not to see him putting a similar shot on Bradford. And I really do worry for Bradford on Saturday. Godspeed is what I would say on that one. And anyway, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, let's get into the next one. Let's keep the ball rolling. It's all, and I've said there, it's all about backing up, and it is in this one, isn't it, Steph? It's all about backing up, because the bottom line is with this one, Castleford last week against Wigan, second half superb. Forget Wigan. Castleford was superb. Absolutely. Whatever Ryan Carr said at half-time, they went out, they executed it, they played with some good eyes up rugby league, they played with purpose, they got a phenomenal win. But that's no good if you're then going to go home and lose to Hull FC. That said as well, even though Hull FC lost last week against St Helens, they showed a lot of heart, they showed a lot of desire, and Simon Grix will want to see that again. So, not from a result perspective, but from an effort perspective, and he will want them to back up. So, this is going to be a very interesting game for that reason. Which of these two teams, can they both do it, or which one can back up on their performance levels of last week?
Yeah, it's not Griggs, is it? I thought it was. What's his face?
Griggs, you know.
No.
Yeah. Andy Last. Andy Last. Yeah. So Griggs and Last, they'll be looking for the same type of energy, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. And if Hull FC can channel that, what they showed last week, and obviously the reaction and everything. I know they've had internal club meetings this week in regards to going forward and stuff. So hopefully they've set the players in terms of the direction they're travelling, and everyone's bought in. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Hull FC do perform. I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game in terms, just because of the narrative and what's happened to that club in recent history. So I think it's probably one that they would have probably said, yes, that's a good fixture for us, prior to Castleford then going to Wigan and winning. It now turns into quite a tricky fixture for FC, and probably one that Castleford will target themselves now. This is a club in turmoil at the moment. They don't know what's happening. So it's a great opportunity. So narratives on both sides. And like you said, it was a great second half performance by Cats last week. But it doesn't mean anything if you throw that away with a poor home performance. Where Castleford will be strong, I think, is on the terraces. I think it's given them fans a bit more belief now with going beating Wigan. So they'll be vocal, and we all know the One Bar is renowned for hostile receptions, to say the least. When those Cas fans get going, that could play a big factor in this one. I'm sure FC would have preferred to have been at the MKM for this rather than the One Bar.
Yes, but then equally at the MKM, had Castleford got on top, that could have been interesting, couldn't it? But yeah, I just think, like I say, it's all about back. Let's take a look at the squads. We've got these ones, so let's take a look at the squads. And Valame, that'd be a right bonus. I was really, really impressed with Valame before he got that injury. So if he's back, I think that's going to be interesting. Of course, Saxon, he's been offered out to other clubs. His time is almost up at Castleford, so I just can't see him playing. I think Winley will probably retain his spot at fullback. But yeah, pretty much as you would expect, no major changes there from last week for the Castleford Tigers. As for Hull FC, again, looking down there, you'll see that Arthur is in at 6, so maybe the return for him this week, who knows? And of course, Harry Newman remains at the club. He's still there on loan coming into this game. And I think that's where we'll start, Stef, in that battle. This could be a right cracking battle on that edge. Mapalangi up against Harry Newman. Mapalangi this season, 7 appearances to Newman's 5, 3 tries to Newman's 1, 4 assists to Newman's none. And I mean, it's incredible to think that Mapalangi is that far ahead of Harry Newman, but he is. Breaks 4-1. Mapalangi busts 29-12. And I know you've got a pro rata it, but even when you pro rata it, it's still very favourable for Christian. 103 carries for Christian, 860 metres to Harry Newman's 66, 483. What I would say, Steph, is in that defeat against St Helens, Harry Newman, for a loanee, really stood up for FC last week.
Yeah, well, I think he has to, doesn't he? If he's any ambitions of getting back in that Leeds team, and displacing Bird, bar Bird getting injured, he had to, and he did. He played really well for FC, especially given he'd had no time with them to train or learn moves or whatever. I thought he played very well, but those stats tell a story, and that's why it's not surprising that he is at FC on loan, because by his own standards, when you compare it to those there, it's not good enough. Simple as that. But Harry's a quality player on his day, but you've got to be on it at a club like Leeds when they've got players like Bird there. If you're not performing, then you find yourself on loan at Hull FC.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree with you more. But like I say, he stood up well. He did well, but he's coming up against a player who arguably, you would argue, is probably one of the form centres in the league.
Definitely, yeah. He's going to be on the radar of a lot of clubs, because I believe he's only contracted for this season. So he's been brilliant, to come into that side. Caught the eye, I think, of everybody. So he's going to be a big factor in this one, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be a massive factor. I think that duel is just going to be box office. I really, really do. I mean, you'd have to argue, but I was going to say that just maybe, advantage to FC in terms of the pack. But that said, the way Lawler and co are playing at the moment, I was pleased Jack Ashworth was playing as well against Wigan. He's in the squad as well, because I think Ashworth brings genuine size and go forward, and I think that they've needed that. They've needed that a lot. I thought Stimson looked better. Greason's looking good. I thought George Hurst. I tell you, that was interesting that last week. George Hurst had a wow of a game against Wigan. A wow of a game. And when you actually compared and contrasted his statistics to the Wigan he played second row, the Wigan second rowers, George Hurst came out on top, which again, from a Wigan perspective, is an head scratcher, isn't it? Because you'd have thought that, but incredible.
Yeah, they did, and I agree. I think Ashworth was really good last week. Lawler had a wow of a game. I thought he was brilliant. I think the big one in this one is obviously Lazzoni for FC.
Yeah, huge loss.
That's massive for them in terms of their go forward and impact, isn't it? Because he normally comes on at the 25, 30 minute mark when teams are starting to tire, and then puts a real injection in go forward into FC as he did for Leeds previously. So I think that's a massive loss for FC.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a huge loss. Before we give a prediction, I think a shout out for Logan Moy. I think Logan Moy has attributed himself really well this season. He's played well since he's come in, hasn't he?
He has, yeah, he's been really good. Obviously, not the biggest of players, and a position where we're blessed with talent in this country. We seem to have loads of good fullbacks, but he's taking his chance. He's playing really, really well. So yeah, good luck to the lad. And as he goes on and he gets a bit more confidence as well, then that's only going to be a good thing for him and FC.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. James Bell in this one, potentially. I'm sure he's going to play. He'll be making his 150th career appearance. Do you know what? I'm so on the fence with this because Castleford, they're like, it's Catalan-esque. You don't know what you're getting. You just don't know what you get at times with Cas. Every time you think, for example, remember when Warrington absolutely trounced them, and then the following we went, they can't possibly improve that much to they get a win, and lo and behold, they did. They've got them beaten Wigan away, and you almost think to yourself, it'd just be so Cas-like to now go back to the one ball and lose against a team that is without a coach and all the emotional elements that's there. But I'm going to back them. Probably the kiss of death this, but I'm actually going to back Castleford for this one. I'm going to go by 10. I'm going to go a home win by 10. What are you thinking, mate?
I was back and forth on this one quite a lot. Again, a bit like we were saying with Wakefield Saints, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I just think that home advantage is going to be big, as I spoke about earlier on the back of an excellent, and it was an excellent win against Wigan.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really close. I'm going to go Cas by 7. I think they'll score late on and then kick a drop goal to seal it.
So we're both back in. The Tigers, the very best of luck to Castleford with regards to that one. That will be a very entertaining game, I think. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. I think all of these games have got the potential to be good this week, I'll be honest with you. I think it's a really, really good round of fixtures. And speaking of which, let's go to Headingley. I said at the start of the show, again, Form 7s collide. Both, of course, will have an eye on the World Cup. Lewis Dodd last week, magnificent against the Warrington Wolves, and of course Jake Connor just carrying on from where he's left off. He's maybe not as catching the eye because of the former Brodie Croft, perhaps, but doing nothing wrong, Jake Connor, this year thus far, and playing very, very well. The squads, of course, again are in with regards to this one, and Leeds are looking really strong. Of course, Bird will deputise not deputise, he's starting centre now, hence the number 3 missing there. But you look down the squad numbers there for the Rhinos, they really are in great shape going into this game. But so too you could argue Catalan coming off the back of a really, really good win. I thought the spine of Catalan played very well indeed last week. Very, very strong performances. This could be an absolute storming game, especially if Catalan turn up.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well from Catalan's perspective. Last week against Wire, they had Aspiro Boucher in the centres. They had Boucher at 13. They had Garcia in at 11. So if they can get some players back and get back into correct positions as well, that's going to help them massively. Also, it's Catalan are a bit like we were saying earlier with Castleford, aren't they? It's which one are you going to get? If they play like they did against Warrington, then this could be closer than what I think it will be. But you look at that Leeds team, the only one missing from the 1 to 17 is Harry Newman, who's been replaced with Jack Bird. So they have no injuries to their main players. That's massive. To have your starting squad is, utopia, isn't it, for Brad Arthur? That's what you want. And then even outside of those numbers, you've got Danny Levi, Presley Cassell, So it's going to be tough for Catalan to go to Headingley and beat Leeds in the form that Leeds are in.
Dear me, I just had a little sneeze there, but anyway, never mind. Not to worry. No, I agree. I completely agree. I think, like you say, they're in great spot. They're in great shape, and when you do go down that Leeds team, you're thinking, well, there's a couple of players missing there in terms of squad numbers, but we're talking Max Simpson, who of course out for the season from earlier. They're just in great shape. The Leeds Rhinos coming into this, but there is genuine threat. Catalan have proven that this season. When they've shown up, they've looked dangerous, and no doubt about it, looked very dangerous. I think Warrington helped them on the way a little bit, and I will only say a little bit. I thought Warrington's second half looked very scratchy, but that's taking nothing away from Catalan. They were outstanding. Once Warrington got 10 up, Catalan really came back and were very strong. I said at the start there that it's the battle of the sevens, and I think it is the battle of the sevens. Both of them having great seasons. Both played 7 games apiece this year. 4 tries, of course, from Dodd. They all came last week. The assists, 7 for Connor, 5 for Lewis Dodd. Of course, Connor goal kicking, 35 from 45. Doddy's not doing that. Of course, it's Sexton. But look at the tackle bus for Lewis. I've been saying this all season, and this graphic proves it. Lewis Dodd has come back from the NRL a different player. When you look at his tackle bus, 14, but look at his carries and meters, 77 carries, taking on the line, 441 meters. You compare that to Connor, who's done 2 busts, 63 carries, and only 151. That tells you that Lewis Dodd is now, without doubt, a running 7.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right in terms of it's come from the NRL. He may not have got loads of game time at grade 1, but he's definitely. I think he looks physically different as well. I don't know if you picked up on that. He's controlling the game. He seems confident, and it's probably the opposite of what I thought he was going to go to Catalan. I thought he'd go in there underconfident and maybe get better as the season went on. But I think he started really well, and he's even improving each game I'm watching him. I think he's bought into the attacking style, and I think he's defending well as well there. So. You can see why Catalan immediately have extended his contract.
Yeah, before ball was kicked, and I think we were speaking on the after show party on Weekly this week with Joel, in the fact that it might have been Alex Sharp, where I said, maybe they saw immediately in pre-season that this was a different Lewis Dodd, hence the reason for extending him before a ball was kicked in anger, because there's no doubt about it, very, very strong indeed. And again, as a halfback as well, you mentioned tackles, he's made 110. His tackle efficiency this season, he's running at around about the 90%, which for a halfback, because they do get targeted, and that's not bad going, is it?
No, that's what I mean. His defence has been spot on. I think he's benefited playing with Sexton. I think Sexton is doing more of the improv stuff, where he's more taking the line on, and then a bit of structure as well. So it's like I say, I think that back line is fitting into really nicely, and obviously being complemented with Fatapi as well, who I thought was excellent against Warrington. And then of course you've got Staines coming around the back as well. So it's he's doing really, really well. And fair play to the lad, because he took a lot of criticism in the NRL.
He did. You mentioned Fatapi there. Let's go to it. What a battle this is. What a little battle. I say it's battle. They might be on opposite sides, but there's no doubt 2 form centres. Ash Handley, Solomon Fatapi, and both playing really well. Fatapi's done 8 games to Hanley's 6, 3 tries to Hanley's 1. Assist goes Hanley's way, 6-5. Breaks 5-3 for Fatapi. Look at the busts, 20 for Fatapi, 18 for Hanley. There's no doubt these are threatening players in attacking phases, no question on that. 116 carries for Fatapi, 846 metres. That's good going, that. 83 for Hanley, 702, which is even better when you take into account he's played two games left. Look, they feed the wingers. They've both got great running games. They're both good ball players as well. These 2 for me on the day, always worth keeping an eye on. And actually, we've just said that Dodd and, Connor are important. We know that Sexton and certainly Brodie Croft in his form is important. But these two as well, either one of these could come off man of the match at the end of the game.
Yeah, definitely two of the most informed centres in the comp at the moment. I think pretty much any team these are getting in at the minute in any club. So really good. I'm someone I didn't really know for Tarpe in terms of his previous career, but he's definitely caught my attention since coming to Super League. And Ash Hanley, I always used to say he's a winger, he's not a centre. And I still remain that he's a winger, not a centre. However, he's playing the centre better to the most standard centres are playing in Super League. He's been brilliant in that position for Leeds. Like I say, I still think he's a better winger, but he's an exceptional centre as well.
Yeah, class. We both enjoy watching Ash Hanley. We're both big fans of him, aren't we? And if he gets a couple of tries at the weekend, he'll be on 500 Super League points. So that's a nice milestone for Ash Hanley. I mean, look, we know at the moment that Leeds are in great form. I think the interesting thing, this is one to remember. Last season, looking back on last season, and we'd all say that Leeds last year were very, very good indeed, but they lost both games to the Catalans Dragons, which is interesting.
Cost them third place to Leigh.
Yeah. So, bottom line is, they lost 11-0 in Catalan and they lost 16-8 at Headingley to Catalan. So Catalan, it's one of those where, Catalan have put some big scalps on Leeds as well over the years. They're a bit of an Achilles heel, Catalan Dragons, for Leeds. When you actually look into the detail of these two clubs, they, certainly in the recent past, they really have been the Achilles heel of the Leeds Rhinos. So Leeds won't be taking this for granted. But the good thing from a Leeds perspective is they've got two of the top three try scorers in Super League. They scored 45 tries this year thus far. I don't know why that's at the back. Forgot to change the backing, my apologies. But 45 tries between them. 45 tries for Leeds this year. And 23 of them have come from Sevo and Croft. They have been very, very good, mate, haven't they?
They have. They've been brilliant. Croft, especially. Sevo, I think, started really, really well, and everyone was like, "Oh my lord!" And then he went off a bit and had a bit of a small dry spell. A lot of his tries, Sevo, have come from ones that, let's face it, me and you could have scored. I think it was more about the play before getting to him. There's a couple, obviously, where it was him and phenomenal efforts. Like we know, Sevo was a great winger, but Brodie Croft, he's showing some real form at the moment. Like up there with his Salford days for me, where he was man of steel. So it's a massive part of that Leeds team. If they're both playing well alongside Jake Connors, Ash Hanley's, then it may get a bit ominous for Catalan.
Yeah, it could. It could. I mean, look, what a game. You look at the two fullbacks, Staines and Miller, beautiful. You look at the interchange hookers, you've got Connor and Levy on one side, and then on the other side, you've got, Harvey Wilson, Cruz Lehman. Right across the park here, you've got real quality, real quality. It should deliver. Like I say, I think Leeds will deliver. I think the question is, can Catalan deliver? And like I said, often Catalan do not travel well. But that said, this season they've been a bit better. I mean, that loss to Bradford in round 2 was a shocker, really. I mean, that'll have stung. I mean, all credit to Bradford, but they came to the Leopards. I know you were struggling with injuries at the time, but they got a win there, and they got a win at FC as well. So let's just hope let's hope the Catalans turn up, because if they do, I think we're in for a treat, a real treat. Right, I'm going to tell you now. I just think Leeds at the moment are just in the zone. I think when you look at the teams they've beaten this season, we're talking the likes of Warrington, KI, teams that are up there pitching at the moment, albeit, of course, Catalans beat Warrington as well. I'm going to go Leeds. I'm going to go Leeds by 12.
Yeah, I'm the same, Leeds 16.
You're going 16, yeah. So, yeah, we're both going the way of the Rhinos in this one. But like I say, it could and it should be an exceptional game of rugby league. Right, let's go over to the HJ. Can the Wire eat Wigan for supper? Of course, there he is, Mr. Byrne, in the Primrose and Blue. He'll be looking forward to taking on his former side in this one. A couple of players, of course, Sam Powell as well, also formerly of Wigan. Toby King, of course, had a spell there as well. So quite a bit in. And of course, the teams are in. So let's take a look at the teams. And here we go. I'll just make that a bit bigger. Kai Taylor-Ray back in the 21-man squad for the Warrington Wolves. That's interesting. Is he fit? Is he not? It was a broken hand or a part of his hand broken. It seems a bit early for me. But if he is back, you'd expect Josh Fulis to go back on the wing. If not, Fulis will stay full back and Jake probably will retain his place on the wing. You'll notice that number 6, George Williams, is not there. So it will be Ewan Irwin in this one for the Warrington Wolves. And Toff Sipley also in the 21, despite coming off at Catalan with knee concerns. So that's going to be interesting. Expect the likes of certainly Luke Thomas, Max Wood to be included in this one. Oh, as far as Wigan Warriors are concerned, it pretty much is plug and play, really. But Sambu not there. So that's an interesting one. Darren Sambu not there after that, best try ever. For whatever reason, he's not there. Must have picked up a knock. So there's no Dayan in the squad for Wigan. So whilst we're discussing this, let's talk centre. Let's talk what they're going to do. Don't know where Stef's gone. He'll be back in a minute. But let's take a look at what we think that Wigan might do here. I think for me, Field, of course, remains at full back. I think there's no doubt about that. I think he probably will continue to go over Zach Eckersley, Liam Farrell centre. Will he cave in? Will Johnny Vaughan come in? I just think with it being Warrington, it's unlikely that he's going to do that. Maybe it's going to be Noah Hodgkinson that deputises for Sambu on the wing, potentially in this one for the Wigan Warriors. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. You see there Sam Esser as well. He's still in the 21-man squad. He was pulled a little bit early for me against Castleford. But there's no doubt about it. Warrington looks slightly better in terms of the squad. I would say probably, they've got some front row issues, but in the main, I think Sam Burgess goes in with a better roster.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting in terms of Taylor-Ray because obviously that means he can put Thulis back on the wing if he comes in. So I think that's probably the major one. I'm surprised Sipley. I thought Sipley got injured.
Yes, exactly. Now, whether that's just to fill out the squad, he was carrying a knee by all accounts. So, like I say, I'm surprised to have seen him in the squad. Whether he makes it or not, I'll be honest. I mean, if there is an issue with his knee, you've got to look at this objectively. He goes off with a knee injury against Gould. He also had, I think it might have been a calf issue as well. There was another part of his leg as well. Can't remember which one, but certainly knee was cited, and it did look a bad one. I called it straight away when he went down and he got up holding his knee, get him off. It didn't look good. He's then come back for Catalan, and it's been cited knee again. If that's the case, you don't put him out the week after. There's clearly still an issue there for me. So I would be amazed, unless it was a bit of kidology. But I don't see how, because the Catalan game was still up for grabs. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised here if we saw the likes of Liam Byrne, maybe a Max Wood start as well. Actually, probably Luke Thomas starting. I think Philbin and Wood certainly off the bench is where I'm sort of seeing this one from a Warrington perspective. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking from a front row. So I do think in the front row, Wigan probably have a bit of an advantage in the front row, but that's pretty much it. I think, the backs probably go, they're very disjointed at the moment, Wigan, in terms of the backs. I mean, again, I've put a graphic together in terms of the way I see it lining up, and that is the way I see it lining up. I think that Hodgkinson might start on the wing this week with no Sambu, and of course Marshall. It looks like he's going to hold on with Farrell. He's not waning on that. I mean, they've got Johnny Vaughan there, but I do think it will be Farrell and Eckersley and Warrington. Ashton King and Opawati put themselves, and it's either going to be Josh or Jake on the wing, depending on what happens with Kai Taylor-Ray. And of course, in the second row, we know that there's no Sam Walters. there's no Liam Farrell. He's probably going to put Partington back in there, and they're going to come up against Sam Stone and Klepi Tanganoa or Bentley. He might put Tanganoa on the bench just to give him a bit of impact. Maybe this one, maybe Bentley starts alongside Stone. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, do you not think Wardle will play for Wigan?
Sorry, yeah, didn't even see Wardle. Well spotted. Don't know. Well, if he does, it's a big advantage.
Yeah, I think.
Do you know what? Because he's been gone so long, I'm not even looked for him. I just didn't think he'd be there. But it's a good. If he's fit, he plays.
Yeah. I think he has to, given the Cats game. I think more so the ramifications of Wigan losing this game. I think even though it's early in the season, I think Matty Pete's got to roll the dice a little bit in this one. So especially with Sambu not there as well, it's another disruption to that back line. So if he's 90%, then I think he plays, and then obviously they can have Marshall Eckersley on the wings, him and Kieran in the centres, Highfield at fullback. It starts to look a bit more healthy for Wigan, doesn't it? So the big one, obviously, for them is Harry Smith. That's the obviously no Bevan French still, but Harry Smith is. We saw it last week. They didn't have the same structure. I would say Wigan always kick to the right hand side, pin teams there, and really defensively dominate them. And we didn't see that last week against Castleford, and that was to do with how Castleford played as well. But that structure was missing. So the halves is obviously going to be it'll be Farriman, won't it?
It'll be Farriman and Kieran again, I'm guessing.
Kieran,
yeah. But I can't see who else he's going to put in there unless he put Field at 6 and Hodgkinson, because the fact that, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Looking at that squad, with no, unless if Sambu's injured, then that's why he's not there. If he isn't injured, you'd expect him to be in the 21-man squad. So the fact that he's not there, if he isn't injured, maybe Eckersley's going back on the wing. But for me, I think he's more than likely going to go. I think there is an argument to put Field in the halves,
Yeah, I would. I'd put Hodgkinson at fullback and Field in the halves. I think somebody's got to be injured. You wouldn't have players like Keir McDermott and Taylor Kerr, in the squad. I don't think if somebody was fit. Fascinating. It's going to be interesting, and we're going to see what a good coach Matty Pete is in this one, because it's definitely going to be about selection if they're going to compete against Warrington.
Well, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Like I say, for me, I think Tanganoa comes off the bench in this one. I think he'll start Bentley Stone because especially if Sipley's not fit, because I think he'll want that extra bit of impact on the bench, which we know Tanganoa can bring. We may as well stay there with Tanganoa, because for me, I thought Weaver defended Nsemba so well last week because he went low. If you watch the replays from last week's game against Castleford, they just went low on Nsemba, and it's the way to go. You're not going to beat Nsemba up top. You're not going to beat Klepi Tanganoa up top. You've got to take the legs away. But what these two bring is genuine threat and power on the edges, and I think it's going to be fascinating. Nsemba's played all games this year. Tanganoa's played 6. Tanganoa 4 tries to 1. Assists, both of them have had 1 assist. Tackles, both get through a lot of work. 170 tackles this year for Nsemba, 114 for Tanganoa. Tackle bust for Nsemba, incredible. 36 to Tanganoa's 10. He's carried the ball 108 times as Nsemba for 666 metres. 53 carries for Tanganoa, 371. They will want the ball out to these, won't they, on the lines that they run, Stef, and they'll want these to really make a difference, both coaches.
Oh, yeah, two very impactful players for their respective teams. I think Nsemba's improved a lot from last year. I think his form dropped off a little bit, and he's come back this season, bit bigger, fitter than ever. He has been playing really well for Wigan. And Tanganoa, I thought it was a great signing from KR from Warrington. I think he fits into the Warrington style of play very, very well. And he's one of those that gives the centre confidence as well. that he's playing alongside. So yeah, no doubt about it. Two massive players for both these teams.
Absolutely. And then it's going to be fascinating. We're going to get a look into the future, Stef, because Ewan Irwin and Jack Farrimond will be playing on Friday night. Let's take a look at these. So, of course, Ewan Irwin only played the 2 games this year to Farrimond's 6. Farrimond has made 2 tries and set up 5. No tries and no assists yet for Ewan, but he has been absolutely an integral part of edge play that have led to tries for Warrington in those 2 games. Ewan's kicking has been superb, albeit he won't be probably asked to do that this week because Sneed will be the man that is partnering him. Attacking kicks 12-8 to Farman, 47 carries for Farman, 219 metres, only 16 carries for Ewan, 59 metres. He's more of a kicking half, and he doesn't tend to really take on the line too much, albeit that might be a part of his game that he'll develop in the coming weeks and months. He does tend to have a bit of flair to him, though, as both of them do. Both like a little chip through. They'll bat their skill. They'll bat themselves. Farman more so. I think there's times for me where Farman tries to go alone. And I think that's a part of his game he's got to improve. Brad Dwyer comes to mind. He's held Brad back for me that over the years. And there's times where you don't want to knock it out of him as a kid. He's got to go and express himself and he's got to go and chance his arm. But there are times where you're thinking, mate, you're going down. That was a cul-de-sac all day long. What are you going down there for, But it's going to be really good to see these 2 emerging talents on the same field.
Oh, definitely. And you're right, it is looking to the future. I think with Farrimond, when he had played in this Wigan team, they've been pretty much full strength, apart from maybe Bevan French, who he's been replacing. So I think that was a big problem for him, not having Harry Smith alongside him last week. That really did affect his game, I thought. Ewan Irwin, too early to judge him. Obviously, he's only a couple of games, them 2 appearances are Super League appearances, aren't they, in total? Yeah. But no doubt, we've seen glimpses of what that kid could be potentially able to do, and his goal kicking's phenomenal. Superb. That must be a 85% kicking percentage there. Right up there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's exceptional. His percentage is 79%.
79%. There you go. Yeah. My bad maths, but
yeah, but actually, what you're not factoring there is, he had. I remember it was 12 from 12 against Gill. So you factor that, and it'd be 80, well into the 80s once you factor that.
Yeah.
But Sneed, we know Sneed will be the goal kicker. There's no doubt about it. But it's going to be fascinating to watch these 2 on the same park. What's interesting here is that, of course, last year it was a whitewash, wasn't it? Wigan won all 3 against Warrington. They won, of course, the game in Vegas plus the home and away. And actually, Wigan have lost the last. Have won the last 4 at Warrington, which again is an interesting one. It's been a long time between drinks where the Warrington Wolves are concerned. I'm going to back them. I am going to back Warrington for this one. Could be wrong, but I do think that it's a game that when you look at the 2 squads, if Warrington are going to be considered genuine contenders, these are the games they have to win, because Wigan's squad there is there for the taking. There's enough missing in that Wigan squad. Jake Wardle, you mentioned him coming back, but it's his first game back. So, Field, we've all been saying, Field doesn't look fully fit. Probably have a man of the match now on Friday night, but he's not looked fully fit. There's a few square pegs and a few round holes. So from a Warrington perspective, yes, they're missing a few, but they need to go and win this game. And if they don't, I think Warrington fans will be a little bit upset about it, because I think they'll see this as a genuine opportunity to get that home win that they've been waiting for. What's your thoughts, mate? I'm going to go Wyeth by 8.
Yeah, well, I think if Wire can't beat Wigan when they're missing Bevan French, Harry Smith, Walters, then I think they're not going to beat them at any time. Obviously, the big one is obviously Williams missing for Wire. That's massive, not only from his attacking, but I'm so impressed with George Williams' defence. The hits he puts in on big players as well is phenomenal. So that is definitely a positive for Wigan that he's not playing, and a lot will depend how Ewan Irwin steps up in that role. I know Warrington had a poor loss last week, but they're back at home. I think that's maybe what Warrington needed, if I'm being brutally honest, last week. Maybe just a bit of a reality check and just come down to earth a little bit, and I think that will help them in the long run. I'm going to go wire as well. I think it's going to be wire by 10.
Yeah. And it's interesting, with the exception of KR, we are saying. I mean, we've given Leeds a bit. We've both given them 2 try plus wins, but tight. It's a tight looking round. It's going to be very.
If Wire play like they played in that second half against Catalan, Wigan will beat them.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, I completely agree. That was a poor second half showing from Warrington. Like I say, well under Catalan, they saw the opportunity and they took it. But Warrington, and I think what's pleasing for Warrington, and this firsthand, albeit you had injury concerns when you came to us, there was a lot who were waiting to see how would Warrington react to the Leeds defeat in the league game. And to be fair, they answered that. And I think this is another one of those moments where, okay, you've slipped there against Catalan. What have you got? And I think it's going to be, and it's the same for Wigan, really. I mean, that loss to Castleford, their fans will be proper looking to see what happens. I mean,
Huddersfield and Castleford, both teams that were at the bottom of the league at the time, So
it's going to, I tell you, I mean, it's going to be very interesting if Warrington. I mean, do you know what? If I'd have had time, because obviously we've shot on this based on circumstance, but it'd be very, very interesting to see when was the last time Wigan lost 4 in a row in Super League. That I've not got that stat to hand, but I'll tell you that must be quite a while ago, without doubt. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out this week. Right, okay. So there's that one. We now go to the LSV, and there you can see Mr. Trout going up against his former club. And I've said there, a step in the right direction incoming. This, from an outsider's perspective, just feels a bit important for both teams. I think we're getting to that. We're getting to that point now where we're almost at round 10, and people need to start moving and shaking. And I think both. This is a fascinating fixture. This, because Huddersfield, yes, I know they lost last time out, but they're in decent form. They had some good wins coming up against the Leeds side that are still missing a few. It's going to be. It just feels like this is a big game, Stef. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I think it's a big game for both sides.
Yeah.
It's probably the battle of the written off teams, this one, a little bit, because I think both sides have been completely written off, but are both only a few points away from the playoffs, and could still go on to do things this year. I think in terms of Huddersfield, there's been a massive improvement from them as the players have started to come back into the team, and you can see there the squad numbers, they're looking so much more healthy in that respect, and it's no coincidence that their performances have improved in that respect. I think where they've not quite got it right still is the defence. I think they will be pretty disappointed with that defence they showed last week against a very good Leeds side. But attack-wise, they've been very, very good, and none more so than Gaga. I think he's been exceptional for them recently.
Well, let's go there. Here he is, Jacob Gaga, without doubt. Giants, for me, is the danger man. He's having a great season. He's Jacob Gaga. 8 appearances, 6 tries, 1 assist, 7 breaks, 43 tackle busts. He's tackled 78 on 78 occasions, carried the ball 129 times for 899 metres. That, for me, very, very impressive, Steph. He's doing well, isn't he?
He is, and I think the concerning thing from a Leigh perspective, listening to Adrian Lamb's interview earlier, it sounds like we're going to have Jack Hughes up against him, which will be a tough day at the office, I think, for Jack in that respect. So that's a big concern on that edge from a Leigh perspective. But he's got to tackle him. It's simple as that, which is easier said than than done. And Leigh have got to come up with a game plan, I think, to limit the chances that Gaga gets to go against Jack Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, David Armstrong's listed there. You don't believe Armstrong's going to play, do you? You think it'll be the week after? Is that right?
I'm not so sure after listening to Lamb's interview.
Right.
I think there may be a chance that he does play.
Right. Okay. And then there's a decision then in terms of, because you've been saying, did Adam Cook do enough at York that if that is the decision that's made and Armstrong comes back in at fullback, that that basically Gareth O'Brien drops out the squad?
Well, I think what they will do if David Armstrong does play and starts, I think they'll put Gaz O'Brien on the bench and they'll limit Armstrong to a 40-minute game.
Fair enough. So you keep O'Brien in the 17, yeah?
Yeah, I think you can't not do. I think one of the good things, especially with Matt Davis being injured as well for Leigh, his head injury concerns continue, which is concerning. And let's all hope for his sake that he gets back soon from that. But the club he wants to play. I believe the club is standing him down at the moment due to signs he's showing, which is concerning. But because of that, it gives Leigh an option. With on the interchange bench, we've got a back there that can go pretty much anywhere in O'Brien and into the halves, if absolutely, sorry, not halves, into the hooking role if absolutely necessary. So it'll be interesting to see whether he picks Horn as well, because then you're going with two utilities on the bench there. So it's going to be a really interesting selection for me. I have a real big problem with Jack Hughes at centre. He had a bit of a better game against York, but I think we're talking about different calibre of opposition in the centres here this week. And I really believe Will Brough should be getting his chance. He's a centre. Why we're playing prop forwards in the centre position, I just don't get it. And if he's not going to get his chance now, what's the point?
Yeah, no, you're right to say your centre's been a big problem for you pretty much all season, hasn't it? You've not really had it settled for a long time in your centre spots. Yeah, very. I mean, look, you know what? It's surprising how long ago it was when Huddersfield came to the LSV. So, a couple of years ago now. 5-game winning streak Leigh have got against the Giants since then. Doing very, very well indeed against them. I mean, here's another thing. I mean, I did a little bit of a win predictor, some key statistics side by side. Not that it means much, but this again shows how tight it is. All of these are done in terms of inches to, in terms of advantage or disadvantage. It's nip and tuck. They're next to each other in the league, and you'll see there's very, very little in it in terms of some key KPIs. Very little in it. Just very, very close. And then when you take into account the averages this season, Leigh have averaged 15 points scored a game. Huddersfield have averaged 18. And Leigh have averaged 24 against and Huddersfield 27. Mm-hmm. So it really is absolutely, for me, very, very tough. Very, very tough to call.
I think what the stats don't tell you there, though, Dave, is the opposition, isn't it? In terms of who they've played against, and by York, I think Leigh have had the toughest opening 8 rounds of anybody in Super League, and particularly away from home as well against big sides.
Yeah.
So that is a skew in it. Not to defend Leigh in any way, shape or form. They will not be happy with where they are in the league at the moment. But they did a professional job on York, I thought, last week. They did enough to win with what they had available, and it was a good win and one that will be very welcome for Leigh. Yeah. But then from a Huddersfield perspective, they're definitely on the way up. That would have been disappointing last week, but you can, like I was just saying, for the point I was making against Leigh, that was against Leeds, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So I think it's going to be a really, really good game, this. I think it's going to be very close.
Before going into a matchup that I'm really looking forward to seeing on Friday. It's Friday, Thursday night, isn't it, yours? I'm really looking forward to a particular battle. At what point is Adam Swift going to kick into gear? I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, I know he's had his injuries. I'm amazed that Adam Swift has not really fired yet, and that's got to be a concern for you as a Leopards fan, because he's too good not to strike at some point, isn't he?
Yeah, oh, definitely. He's going against two good wingers. I think he'll be against Charnley. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Um,
Senior
so
left, doesn't he? So yeah, it'll
yes,
be Charlie. He'll be playing
Charnley.
against Charlie. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm not too concerned from that respect, because I think Charlie's done a brilliant job switching his wing this year from left to right. I think he's been a shining light fully along with in his senior. So I'm not too concerned. That'll probably come back to bite me, and he'll score a hat trick against us now on Thursday. But I think it's more from a Huddersfield. They need to get him the ball more. It's
in
their
open
attack.
field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's going to start to come now. Now they've got Gagai and Milne in the centres. They've got Clune and Lola here in your halves playing pretty decent rugby. So that's going to create opportunities for the likes of Swift and put pressure on that Leigh edge defence.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. I think I'm right in thinking Josh Charlie played predominantly on the right at Warrington, because of course
Yes.
he had Ashton on the other wing, so he's not averse. But so, like I say, he's shown throughout his career he can play either side. I think he prefers the left, but he's potent equally on the right as well. But the one that I tell you, the matchup I'm really looking forward to seeing. I mean, I'm just looking there at your squad numbers again. Robbie Mulherney's listed, and he came off against your. What's your thoughts on Mulherney? Do you think that that's one of the Lamb specials that he's
Yeah,
there?
no, he didn't come off against York. He didn't
I
play.
know.
No, he was named.
He
He
went
was
down in
named
the
in
didn't he?
went in the warm up.
That's right.
So, but I believe that was more precautionary.
Right.
He felt a slight twinge, but nothing. He could have played the game, but they decided not to risk it given his recent calf issues.
Fair play. So that hopefully does open the door to this, which is, I think, a cracking tussle. If they put Trout in second row, which if Robbie's playing and Ovingow is fit, he probably will start second row. He's coming up against Asher O'Donnell, and I think Asher O'Donnell is slowly but surely starting to show some real quality for Huddersfield Giants. I think this is a cracker. And when you actually look at them side by side, what a contest this one could be. Both of them tackle at a very high efficiency. Trout 94%, Asher O'Donnell 93%. Both get through a lot of work. More so Trout, which is really interesting. I mean, if you look at for the purpose of the podcast, 8 games to 7, Asher O'Donnell has played them all, but 381 tackles Trout has made, 94% efficiency, carried the ball 64 times, 381. Now, a good ball player, but 381. You look on the other side, less tackles from O'Donnell, 266, a few more carries, but a lot more meters at 614. So it's really interesting, both incredible stats. Again, the busts of O'Donnell as well, 19 to 7 in his favour. This is a cracker. We know Trout's class. We know his qualities. I like him. You know my thoughts with Trout. He's a second rower. I think he's outstanding when he plays second row. This, for me, as a toe-to-toe contest, is well worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and the discrepancy in your stats there, Dave, is because Trout's been playing in the middle. He's been playing
Right.
prop.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why he's got more tackles and less carries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think he plays miles better when he's playing second row, and he plays miles better when he's got a full front row of Ipapi, Mullen, and Offingawi in front of him, creating that bit of space so he can run off the likes of Lachlan Lamb. So it's definitely an advantage for Leigh if he does play in the second row, which I fully expect him to do this weekend.
And he's going to come up against a very talented young player. I think the more I'm seeing of O'Donnell, the more I'm thinking Huddersfield might have got that one right.
I wanted Leigh to go in for him, obviously with his brother Kai, what he did for Leigh, and I believe they were talking to him at one point. So it was a good pickup. I think he's been a bit slow to start with, but he's definitely coming into it now, and it does. Adrian Lam always says it takes the NRL players, 10, 11 rounds before they get to anywhere near. And I think that's true with Asher. I think he's been good, but now he's starting to come very good for Huddersfield. And obviously, as Huddersfield get fitter and more consistent, that's going to help all these players that have been in there. Because I think that's obviously something you've got to factor in terms of his performances. Is he's not been playing with the full squad. Whereas now that's going to ease the pressure off him a little bit and create more opportunity for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. I am really struggling on this one. And again, it just goes to show what a great round of rugby league we've got to look forward to. This one tonight, as of course people are watching and listening, should be an absolute belter. Not on the main production, of course. York Olympic get that honour. So this is a red button job for me. I'd be recording the York game and I'd be watching this one, no doubt about it. I'm going to let you call this one first because I'm fascinated to see which way you're going to go.
I think if Armstrong come back, that is a massive plus for Leigh. Just from a speed perspective, more than anything. Gaz O'Brien's done a great job deputising in that position. I think Mulhern being back in is going to be a big plus as well. And hopefully we get a bit more game time out for Pape. I've got to go with Leigh. It's at home. I think it's a must-win game for Leigh. So early on, I think they've got to put performance in. I'm going to go Leigh by 6.
Yeah, it's within 10 either way, isn't it? It is. I do see it within 10 either way. I think because I've got more confidence in Leigh in terms of what they've achieved, probably the mental fortitude of what they've shown, and a massive improvement at Warrington. Let's not, that week on week that was a big improvement. I'm going to go with you. And I'll go with you in terms of the score as well. I do think it's going to be sub 10 either way. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants did it. And again, when you look at the squad side by side, there's an argument that the Giants should go and do it. When you look at the squad side by side, you mentioned Armstrong coming back, but it's going to be his first game back if he comes back. So there's all that narrative as well. It's an opportunity for the Giants. There's no doubt.
Yeah, if they play it right, if they really go, they should target. Yeah, if they target Jack Hughes, then and it's not having to do it. Jack Hughes, he's played out of position. He's not a centre in the memory of man now. Yeah. He's a prop. So it's how Huddersfield approach it, but Leigh can still defend. That's the regardless of whether people are playing out of position or whatever, they should still be able to defend. So I wouldn't be surprised like you if Huddersfield do win, but I think Leigh need to win. I think Leigh need it more than Huddersfield, if I'm being honest with you, just because of the expectations on the two clubs at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Going to be a fascinating game, mate. It's going to be a fascinating game. And then, of course, we come to this one, which, again, a great game. The two promoted sides, of course. York going up against Toulouse Olympique for the first time since the grand final last year. Of course, when, Toulouse somehow won that grand final by 10 points to 8. Everybody expected York to do the clean sweep, and it didn't happen. Toulouse had something to say about that. So here we go. And of course, the teams are in. Again, very difficult list for me because Toulouse were, let's be fair, they were playing KR, absolutely hammered last week. York, despite their adversity, stood up well, played a decent game against Leigh last week. It's a tough one, this. On paper, Toulouse look less disrupted than York, but York, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this the easy way. Let's take a look at this, a graphic that I produced coming into today's Captain's Run. This is the story so far for these two teams. And when you actually look at it, what's really striking, yes, there's been a couple of blowouts. So 46-16 round 2 defeat there for York, you'll see, to the Leeds Rhinos, 46-0 last week to KR for Toulouse. But once you take those out of the equation, in the main, both of these two clubs have been in the tussle. They've proper been in the tussle. You look at we'll start with York. I mean, York, it could have been very different. Very, very different. I mean, Warrington, they put a massive scare on Warrington. Could have easily have beat Wigan. Some would argue they should have beaten Wigan in that game. And then, of course, the game against Leigh, they weren't out of that for long, long periods. Same with Toulouse. You look at Toulouse's losses. There's been a couple in there where you're going, do you know what? That could have gone the other way. The one against Leigh, of course, the one that really sticks out in memory because it went to Golden Point. So it's fair to say that when you look at those results, if the wind blew in a slightly different direction on the day, both teams could have more points at this moment in time because they have been competitive.
Yeah, no, they've definitely been competitive. I think for me, I think Toulouse are fitter, aren't they, at the moment, from a squad perspective than York. With obviously my team, Leigh playing these two very recently, York last week and Toulouse a couple of weeks ago before that. I just think at the moment Toulouse look the better side, but based on availability of players more than anything. But York played very well against Leigh, very very well. It was just that probably experience that got Leigh over the line against them. They're making it a little bit of a fortress, that ground, the LNER, and they're getting some pretty decent crowds there watching them now as well, which is great to see. I think both these teams will have circled this fixture when they came out.
100%.
It said this is it's a must win. No debating it. We have to win this game because I think realistically everyone is expecting Bradford, York, and Toulouse to be bottom of Super League, and I think that's probably going to be realistic as well over the course of a long season. That's not saying they won't be competitive, far from it, but you would expect those three to be at the bottom of the league. So there's a bit of a pride in terms, like a mini league going on between these clubs, I think, or will play out over as the season goes on. Yeah. So it's massive. It's a 4-pointer, as you know, people would class it as that in this fixture. It's just you could go either way. You could make arguments for both sides winning this game. So it's going to be, we keep saying it, very interesting to see how this one plays out.
I'd say what's an interesting battle is going to be at 6. Hingano and Lacan, who for me, I think he's growing. Is Thomas Lacan? I mean, he really is. He's been catching the eye. There's been parts of games, I think you've noticed it as well. There's been parts of games where he's really stepped up and he's been looking dangerous. The stats probably don't really show how well either of these two are playing, quite frankly. But I do think the critical. It'd be so easy to say Ollie Ashelbot. We know Ashelbot's going to have a massive say in the game. We know that. But behind that, what is there? And I think that this battle at 6 is going to be very, very interesting. And I think, from a York perspective, they need Hingano to have a stormer. They really do. Because for me, with the injuries that they've got, he is box office. When he's got the hands on the ball, he is a dangerous player. Scored a try, 3 assists in 5 games. That's good going by any standard. Both are running. Both like to run the ball. But when you look at the two squads side by side, like I say, you look at certainly the York squad. You've got Ngannou there. I think Nofaluma does a job out of backfield, don't get me wrong. But in terms of genuine threat, Ngannou is pivotal in that. Whereas you go across to the Toulouse side, but we've seen Leguer. You saw that firsthand. His strike and what he can do. I think there's just a little bit more strike on the Toulouse side for me going into this game. And, I think York, again, will be incredibly competitive. And I think over the course of the season, I still don't think York will finish bottom.
No.
I really don't. I think I've seen enough from York to suggest that when they get the troops back, they're going to be very hard to beat. They'll pick up points. And I think with the way things currently are and the injuries that Bradford have got, I'd probably put Bradford as favourite at the moment, perhaps to finish bottom. But I just think that Toulouse have got a bit more going forward. And for that reason, and I'm going to say it's a tight one. I'm going to go 8. I'm going to go Toulouse for this. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and an interesting one from Toulouse perspective, obviously Tyler Dupree not in the squad again.
It's not.
Um, Obviously heavily linked with moving to Castleford. So I don't know the logistics of that with him being on loan, isn't it, to lose this year from Wigan. So
It will be about the three clubs. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that'd be for Wigan, the parent club, I would have thought, in terms of who's going to be released from his contract.
yeah, so very very interesting. You wonder whether that could factor in maybe with what's he called, the centre at
Yeah,
Castleford.
Zach's only leaving. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, the what's he called, the good centre
Where?
at Castleford. The one who's playing really well.
Oh, Mapalangi.
Mapalangi.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you wonder whether that, if Dupree's going to Castleford as compensation to Wigan, Mapalangi could be,
That won't go down well, would it? Imagine the Tigers fans if that happened.
well, it could do, couldn't it? If we're going to take him anyway, you might be thinking because Kieran's been playing very well for Wigan, but we've seen he's been a bit of a liability, hasn't he?
Mate,
You never know. Strange things have happened.
You've thrown a right spanner in there, haven't you?
Yeah, there's something definitely going, because I don't think Dupree's injured. I'm pretty sure he's not injured. So why would he not be in the? There's something going on there, I think, anyway.
There's something going on.
But yeah, I think you're right in terms of. I think Ashore Bolt's going to have a massive impact in terms of the attack. Laguerre was great when he played against Leeds. Showed he could finish. I'm going to go to lose by 6.
Yeah, it's I've got 8. I think, like I say, unfortunately, I think at the moment injuries are just curtailing York a little bit, but I think over the stretch, like I've said, I just think I don't see York finishing bottom. I don't. I could be wrong. I just think the heart and the spirit and the fight that they're showing. Same for Toulouse. I think, unfortunately, the injuries that Bradford have got might just be edging them into that wooden spoon by the end of the season. Right, let's get into this.
The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
So here we go, Bet Stef. No graphic this week, so Stef's going to walk us through it. Right, mate, where are we starting?
So if the dog starts barking, please ignore. My daughter just walked in. I'm going for Huddersfield Giants plus 10.5. So, like I said earlier, I think it's going to be a close game between Leigh and Huddersfield. Toulouse Olympique have got a 6 start. So, bearing in mind, I've just said I think Toulouse will win. That was a no-brainer. Castleford Tigers plus 2.5. I think they've got enough to get a start in that game. Is pretty decent at home. Leeds minus 12.5. I've backed Leeds to overcome that deficit. Warrington minus 1.5. I think Warrington have got enough to overcome that against Wigan. Hull KR only minus 32. I think that's quite generous from the bookies, given what Wakefield did to Bradford. So yeah, and Wakefield Trinity, they've got an 8 start with the bookies. I think that's very generous as well, given the form. So I'm backing Wakey at plus 8.5. So that in total gives you 64-1.
64-1. Bet your pound, lose your pound. But the problem with that, even with the handicaps, as you said, if that, I have to say, Steph, if that comes out, mate, you're in the wrong profession, mate. You really are, because if that one comes off this week, with how tight I think these games could, they could all go either way. Wow, what a result that would be. Right, who's your try scores, mate?
I've gone for good old Ennis Senior. I think he will get one in this one. Jacob Gagai, given the form he's in at the moment, I think it's a good show, especially going up against Hughes in that left-hand side, as we've repeatedly talked about. And finally, David Nafaluma. So that one will turn you 15-1 for those three,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, Gagai's in great form. Senior's always good for a try, and let's be fair. I mean, Senior's one of those, isn't he, that he's one of those that if you're going to put a bet on like that at 15, you just put the same bet on his Senior every week, and you could possibly cover your bets, because he's gonna probably score in well over half the games during the course of a season. So
as long as he doesn't get injured,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, who's up potential top try scorer? You going?
I
Really?
said at the start of the season he would be top try scorer. However, having no centre partnerships has put a stop to that. I don't think he'll get top try scorer this year now, but you never know. You never know what'll happen.
Yeah, Nofaluma, that's an interesting one. Good play, Nofaluma. Be interested to see if he gets one. Right, there you go. We've done it. A fantastic couple of, hour and a bit of chat. You're not a million miles away from, of course, the Sky production for Toulouse against Olympique at York. So go and get yourselves your cup of teas. Go and if you're on the way to the game or if you're about to watch the game live in the stadium, enjoy your Thursday night rugby league. I know this man will, because that's where he is now as this is going out. But yeah, enjoy your week of rugby league. Don't forget Super League Raw throughout the weekend, instant reaction. We've also got, of course, the Final Hooter podcast Monday morning, the ladies tackle talk, my apologies, on Tuesday morning, and of course Super League Raw weekly back at 8 p.m. this Tuesday night. From myself and from Steph, enjoy round number 9, folks. See you next week. Bye for now.
See ya.